A record number of Americans, upwards of 67 million, go to the polls to elect the 35th President of the United States. At his Hyannisport, Massachusetts residence, the Democratic candidate and his wife stoically waited out the returns, as did Vice President Nixon on the other side of the country, who even made a quick trip across the border for an Election Day lunch.
Through much of the campaign, the understanding was that Nixon was ahead, and ahead by a few points, and why wouldn't he be? The 50s were peace and prosperity, very popular incumbent, and an upstart Democrat, and someone very young. You know, Nixon was young, 47, 48 years old, but Kennedy was extremely young, you know, at 43. And importantly, the turning point, of course, was the famous first debate, the first televised presidential debate.
It was a very different debate from the kind of debates we have today. It was in a studio. There was no audience. It was just a well-known TV anchor or reporter asking them questions.
Thank you very much for permitting us to present the next President of the United States on this unique program.
This is when this charisma issue came in big time, which is a huge factor now because television became the dominant medium for covering politics. That 1960 election was the first election where television really did, I think, dominate the debate and the outcome.
And a lot of it was cosmetic, because those who've reviewed the tapes realized that the two candidates were pretty much saying the same thing.
If we're moving ahead, then I think freedom will be secure around the world.
The things that Senator Kennedy has said, many of us can agree with.
Nixon's only error was the way he looked. He wasn't ready for the TV era.
And part of the problem was that Nixon didn't have any makeup. He'd used this bar of Lazy Shave or something, and he had a heavy beard and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, how you look is important.
It's a question of whether they look presidential, whether they have stature, and whether they look like they're capable of being president. Kennedy passed that test. It elevated him to a parity with Nixon.
Those who listened to the debate on the radio, and there were still quite a few people listening on the radio, said that Nixon had won. Those who watched it on television said that Kennedy had won.
The unexpectedly delayed climax saw Senator Kennedy the victor with a clear margin of electoral votes. At 43 years of age, he is the youngest man ever voted into the White House and the first Catholic chief executive in the history of the nation.